Hello and welcome to the Poorhammer Podcast, episode 152. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
And today, we have a special gift and an apology letter to all Eldar players.
I don't remember apologizing, but you can apologize.
Look, I may normally be on the Eldar is boring train, but today we are celebrating the Eldar as they're getting a sweet new refresh. It's looking great, and we might as well go through a range review of the Eldar for those who are interested in starting them off now. With only a little further ado, let's jump into this.
Sounds good.
Haha, it's further ado now. We've got new merch over at Orchidate, or just typing in poorhammer.com will get you there. And you can get our new DACA design. It's amazing. It looks so good on a hoodie, by the way.
Yeah, I also am a big fan of it in the sticker form.
Yeah, that was the last second ad. I'm really glad that they got that in for us.
That one is one of my favorites for a sticker, so I'm pretty excited. But yeah, take a look at our merch.
All right, with that out of the way, let's get into this topic at hand here.
All right, I think we probably start with some of the kind of generic characters to ease us in, because there's quite a few characters and some of them link up with others in sections of the army.
Yeah, we'll do some basic theme rundowns in Eldar, because Eldar has a lot of different variety within a single large faction. You can go the aspect warrior routes, you can go into wraiths, which are nothing like that. We've got all sorts of generic stuff in there. Technically now you even have all of Harlequins in this book, so we'll try to stick to themes, and we'll go down the various chains you could end up going down if you had interest in certain parts of the army but not others.
Yeah, the only real overall theme is generally the elf lithe look as opposed to big bulky kind of stuff. That's the core theme throughout, but yeah, lots of variations from that.
Yeah, so to start us out, let's talk about Autarchs first, or Autarches. I've never been corrected one way or the other, so I can say it either way until I do.
And we're going to switch it up constantly just because.
It'll be funnier if I don't stop. So Autarchs are essentially, for those who have a general understanding of 40K, they're your captain equivalents. They are your leaders of the Eldar at a generic level. They're someone who has mastered all the paths and has become enlightened or whatever. It basically means they're in charge.
But they're pretty cool for just being the generic kind of captain or whatever. They're pretty cool looking.
I like the amount of variety they have access to, just the crazy loadouts they've got, the fact that you can give them the jump pack wings, because there's the Autarch Wayleaper that's the winged version.
It's cool. I'm not entirely sold on the silhouette of that, because that's a separate model. It's a bit weird, just stepping. But I do like the wings. Very cool.
And I like that you've got your hyper elite army with the most OC over the top character background for why their characters are the ones in charge of the master of everything, someone who's done it all. It's time to become an Autarch. It works well with the general high elf vibe that Eldar have.
Yeah, the whole they live so long that they can actually become masters of specific parts of whatever combat they want to do, and as you master each path, you're okay, I'm gonna go do another path for an entire life.
Yeah, and you start collecting lifelong Boy Scout patches, and when you get them all, then you become the scout leader.
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
All right, so from the Autarchs, we've got a couple. So there's the Warlocks and the Farseers, because the Warlocks are the pre-Farseers.
Yeah, a Warlock is basically a junior Farseer. So we'll talk about Farseers first, and then a Warlock is the step down from a Farseer.
Okay.
But the Farseers are basically the Eldar equivalent of wizards. They are the person who can see the future, who has mastered time and space and all that junk. The named variant would be Eldrad Ulthuan. He's the main Ulthway character. He's in a lot of lore. Even in non-Eldar lore, Eldrad comes up all the time.
Which is it's a useful tool in narration, because I think it's literally just the path of the Seer or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where they can glimpse into the future. So it's nice to have the character show up and drop information or tease to the characters in the universe and be I know something that's very important, but I'm busy.
It's very important that you go sacrifice your men over here right now. You must believe me, there's no time.
Yeah, I'm busy with some other stuff. Very, very important stuff.
Easy way to stir the pot and get some drama in the middle of your story.
Yeah, it's maybe a little cheap after you keep doing it, but it's kind of fun from like a fundamental aspect, just showing up and being a boss essentially.
Yeah, but the Eldar are one of the like super psychic races of 40k.
Yeah.
And Farseers are like the end point of that. They are like giga space wizards.
The idea there was like the Eldar brought up for the War in Heaven or whatever, and like they're the psychic part in that fight.
Yeah, exactly. And like, again, with everything we're saying here, Warlocks is just the junior of a Farseer, and Warlocks also exist. So you can have a Farseer on foot, you can have a variant on a bike, which is a Farseer Sky Runner, and then Eldrad X is a named character version of it, and then you've got a Warlock equivalent both on foot and on bike, and Warlocks can even come in like multiples in one unit.
Yeah, it looks like it's still in the new release that you can have the Warlock Conclave be 2 or 4 Warlocks, but you can also just have a singular Warlock. And you can tell the difference between the Warlocks and the Farseers, because the Farseers have a little swoop on the back of their helmet.
Yeah, Eric, is that your epic Eldar knowledge coming back in here?
Yeah. No, it took me a little bit because I was like, Warlock Skyrunner, Farseer Skyrunner. What's the difference here? And so, that meme of they're the exact same. I was like, oh, where's Waldo's paying off? I see the difference. I spotted it.
So as an offshoot to that, we have Spirit Seers, which is another elf space wizard, right? But Spirit Seers specifically care more about like the upkeep of Wraithbone and the Eldar afterlife, more or less. So like all the Eldar models, you'll see like little jewels on them. Those are spirit stones. So when an Eldar dies, they go into the stone instead of into Slaanesha's mouth.
I was like, this is far more important nowadays than it was maybe back in.
Yeah, the Spirit Seers are basically the ones in charge of making sure the Eldar afterlife of getting uploaded into their own personal afterlife. They keep on like giant relays, but they also, when we get to Wraiths later, are the ones in charge of the Wraiths due to how Wraiths function. You can think of them from an external standpoint as like the Eldar equivalent of like a tech priest or a tech marine for the Imperium.
Right, because the whole like Wraithbone thing is how they do tech.
Yeah, a lot of their super high tech, you can't believe it's not magic stuff is Wraithbone.
You can't believe it's not magic, yeah.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah, this model's kind of neat with that in mind, with like the jewels all over. It is a little bland looking compared to some of the other stuff, I guess, just because it's an older model.
Yeah, I really do like the Seers though. Like they've got that very telltale, like the full body.
The like robe thing.
I don't mean the robe. I mean they've got a robe on that's got like the full body filigree down the front. I like that you can always tell that it's like, okay, that's an Eldar wizard because they've all got that all the way down the front of their robe.
True.
And they've got the sweet Daft Punk helmet. But for one last character to segue into our next theme, which is the Aspect Warriors, let's talk about the Avatar of Khaine, the coolest, biggest boy.
Just like a shard of an old, dead, angry god.
Yeah, the god of murder, so committed to being the god of murder that he got murdered, as Haywo once so eloquently put it.
I mean, there's a certain dedication to the whole, like, aspect thing. So, like, yeah, the god went maybe a little too far, but can't fault him. But yeah, the avatar just like comes alive as needed or something like that.
Yeah, so basically the Eldar can like do a ritual to bring alive an avatar of Khaine. And then as it starts raging on the battlefield being, a shard of a murder god, it empowers the Eldar and makes them a little bit crazy while doing so in a way that I feel like is very interestingly orky.
Yeah, kinda.
Considering their background of they're both like bioweapons developed by the old ones for the War in Heaven. I enjoy the little things like that where it's not said, but like you could read into it.
There's some Wa energy potential going on there.
You can definitely tell that it was the homework of the same species that made the orcs.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the Avatar of Khaine definitely looks angry.
Yes, and it's a sweet model. It is bigger than you think. Like, when you see one, they are like a full, like, 6-inch tall model. This thing is also amazing for if you want to start playing with OSLs and colors, and instead of making your shadows dark, making them brighter to show that it's like molten from within. Lots of fun for a painting project standpoint.
Yeah, I just had to take a look. It's on an 80 mil base.
Yeah, it is a big boy.
Especially for, a lot of these other characters are, they're not small, but they're lithe. So, like, they're not chunky and big kind of thing. The Avatar Khaine definitely stands out, and definitely a lot of fire motif.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get behind the OSL, kind of play with it and have some fun, like molten magma behind the armor plates and stuff.
But while we're talking about characters, let's talk about the Aspect Warriors and the characters that go with them, which is the Phoenix Lords, which are probably part of the reason you were interested in this army in the first place.
And some very interesting new things coming, because, some of those models were quite old.
And they got some very beautiful glow-ups for the most part.
So let's start with the basic one, the first or whatever.
Yeah, so we've got the Dire Avengers as like the Aspect Warriors that represent just like generalist warfare, the best of the best, often just seen as the Eldar elite.
They're just good at war, and I could be wrong on this one, but I thought that like they were like a core part to the War in Heaven, and like that's why they're just like general war, because like they didn't really have the time to fully master other paths, just be the best at war as you can be, because like the other option is extinction.
I don't actually know that detail. Eric might out-know me on this,
or I could be making it up.
Eric could be making it up and gaslighting me, which is fun. Gaslighting your friends is a fun hobby, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The models themselves, they look elite.
Yeah, they're a little bit older than all the rest, which does show. They're not terrible, though. I'm still not a fan of the Spartan toothbrush heads, but...
Nah, I think it works. I'm here for it. I can definitely understand not being, though.
But they're led by their Phoenix Lord, Asurmen the First, the Hand of Azure. Asurmen's really cool. I actually love that he's got a banner of himself. It's the most 40k thing imaginable.
It's so Aeldari, too. Just such a fucking...
Says the Grey Knight, the other faction I can think of that does this exact same thing.
Hey, man, it takes one to know one, and I'm calling it.
Yeah, I think Asurmen's very cool. I think his new sculpt does like a really good job of like conveying the spirit of all the art of him while being a very updated, beautiful model.
Oh yeah, the model is amazing. I actually really like the yin yang of like they're the generalist kind of thing. So balance and war, I guess I'm assuming is the intent there. It's a cool aesthetic flair to the otherwise like overwhelming drip kind of going on there.
So then all the other aspects tend to be like a more specific thing.
Focused.
Yeah, they're all focused. So like the Swooping Hawks are obviously your mobile ranged unit.
Nah.
They have hawk wings and are based off, bird.
Bird. Yes. Really selling this one.
I'm real good at Eldar lore, guys. I definitely didn't have to brush up on things multiple times preparing for this episode.
To be fair, though, I feel like Swooping Hawks, we don't really need to sell lore. Like, did you look at the model and think, yeah, that's fucking cool. These are for you.
Yep. They get way cooler wings than your Blood Angels do nowadays, guys.
Ooh, shit. I mean, you could always just like kit bash these onto those. Maybe. It's kind of expensive, but these are really cool. But somehow Baharroth is like even cooler.
Yeah, the winner of the Eldar Glow Up contest, going from what he looked like to what he looks like now, dear God, be careful who you make fun of in 1993.
Yeah, because shit, this model's amazing. Like, so much of it is just really, really cool. Especially, like, the headdress just fits. It could easily do the Roman thing that the Dire Avengers were doing and be kind of... I don't think anybody's against Baharroth's cool-ass wings and feather dress and all that stuff, man. It's so cool. It's so cool.
But going onward, we've got Warp Spiders, who are an easy sell. They got updated after 30 years.
I'm pretty sure there were jokes about a bunch of these being updated after being like legal drinking ages and stuff like that. So after 20 years, like what's a decade or two between friends?
So you've got your heavy firepower unit that travels through the warp with a personal warp jump pack thing that lets you just jump through the warp from location to location without a ship or anything protecting you. Just you hoping that you can get from point A to point B in the warp without dying.
Yeah, and like that's a little bit more metal as an Eldar than a random human.
Yeah, since, you know, you die and your soul gets eaten by Slaanesh for all eternity.
Yeah, and just like hopping through the warp is like, hey, Slaanesh, look at me. Oh, sorry, I'm gone. Oh, I'm back. I'm gone. I'm back. And it's like, one of these times, you're not going to make it out. Yeah, dude, these are so just like the extra arms. The new warp spiders have this like from a silhouette, they could be so dumb and turtle looking. But when you actually like see the models with the detail and stuff, they're just cool.
Yeah, and they're led by Lhykhis, who she kind of made waves everywhere because she was out of left field. No one saw her coming. And dear Lord, is this model beautiful.
Is that like some kind of like meta, like never saw her coming because she popped out of the warp and assassinated somebody or something like that? Or was it just like...
No, I'm just saying that none of us expected to have her get a model, and dear God, is it beautiful.
So you had brought this up before we were recording, and I totally agree. The paint scheme of Lhykhis and warp spiders, the default one shown like from GW, clash pretty...
Yeah, they're like reverse, and I think if I were to paint warp spiders, I would paint them in Lhychis's paint scheme.
Yeah, like it's gonna go so much cooler. Especially when you're playing both of them. Because, like, dude, the Lhykhis model, like, the whole web thing going on there as, like, shattering. Like, oh, my God.
She looks like a Spider-Man villain, absolutely.
Yes. And, like, one of the good Spider-Man villains. Like, this is the one, like, bring this one back as a recurring villain, because, like, this is how we sell comics. Dude, I'm absolutely here for it. Super cool. But yeah, I think the next one is our last, like, new glow up with the fire dragons.
Yes, though there are many more aspects we're going to be covering. So the fire dragons just got updated as well. I hope you like orange to go with your Meltas. They're your, like, close range firepower kaboom.
Just, like, blow shit up.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
So they're led by Fuegen, who has the longest compensator gun in the known universe.
And still one hand wields it.
Yes, because he needs to have his axe as well.
Like, it's cool in a, like, ridiculous way, right? Some kind of like Rambo-esque nonsense of I'm just gonna one hand the biggest fucking gun in the world. Oh, and also I'm doing that because I want to hold on to this axe.
I will say, while I would have Asurmen's banner on him every time, I would not put the banner on Fuegen. I think his silhouette is very cool without the banner.
I'm actually in agreement.
The banner I would just use as a fire dragon upgrade banner to like make a cooler one on one of them.
Yeah, and like the fire dragons are pretty cool. I think you really have to like orange.
I am very biased if you've seen my armies.
Yeah.
I have the orangest orange Chaos Knights to ever orange, so...
Definitely cool.
Shall we do the every edgelord 14-year-old's favorite with the Dark Reapers and Mugen Ra?
Yeah. I mean, that is what they are, right? Like, I think they're intended to be like the like long-range sniper, like that's kind of their aesthetic.
Yeah, they're the long-range firepower to the short-range firepower of the fire dragons.
Yeah, whatever the aspect, the path of long-range destruction, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but yeah, they are edgy.
I'm not a big fan of them, but I could see them being people's favorites.
You're crazy. The thing is, they're obviously edgy. They're the like 14-year-old, I'm super cool, whatever nonsense going in there. But it knows that that's what it's doing. It embraces it, does it pretty well. Especially Mugen Ra. Like, do you look at that weapon? Fucking hell, dude, that's metal.
Yeah, the sniper rifle that just has a scythe blade on it because it would look metal.
Because it's cool, all right? I'm 14, and that's the coolest thing ever.
So yeah, Mugen Ra is definitely the selling point to me for Dark Reapers. I don't actually like the Dark Reapers that much. I like Mugen Ra though. I just am a sucker for a skeleton guy.
He absolutely looks like he should be on a stage as a heavy metal band.
It is a level of outfit where you start asking, are we the baddies, when you're just covered in skulls all over.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Like, you put him next to Janezar, which we'll get to in a second here, and you're like, one of you is giving off evil vibes, and it's not Janezar.
And it's shockingly not Janezar. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Dark Reaper, and like, not a new release model, but I think this one is still amazing. No worries there.
Should we talk about our last Phoenix Lord that has a model with Janezar and the Howling Banshees?
Yeah.
So the Howling Banshees for the sales pitch thing are the all-female melee specialist aspect. They've got the all Wraithbone white look to them.
Yeah, I mean, like, looking at the unit, they got a bunch of swords and like a couple pistol things, and it's like, all right, I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna run at me and cut me in half.
And Janezar takes that to 11 with the biggest hairdo imaginable.
Holy shit, yeah, man.
She's more hair than person.
It's cool. I like it.
It's a very cool silhouette that you can only do when you have like a massive hairpiece or like flowing tassels to tie you to the ground so that the model works. It allows for a very dynamic pose that is welcome when you're playing 40k and you're used to a lot of very boring poses.
Very true. Yeah, like compare Janezar to Fuegen.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Fuegen as a model. It's very cool, but Janezar's a breath of fresh air for the posing and, you know, dynamic silhouette and all that stuff. Also cool weapons.
Then we've got the Striking Scorpions, which we don't have the Phoenix Lord for anymore. Striking Scorpions are, again, the other melee-oriented one. They're green! I don't know. I really don't like Striking Scorpions looks-wise. I'm not a big fan of the dreadlocks. I'm not a big fan of the acid green.
Yeah, I don't like the green. The rest, like the model without the color, is pretty solid. I'm okay with it. The weapons, I don't know, man. It just doesn't really feel Aeldari to me.
Aeldari, it's the chainsword looking thing, yeah.
Yeah, and like, that's fine. It's okay to branch out and do something different. It's just not really for me. The other one that we don't have a Phoenix Lord for are the Shining Spears.
Yes, who are an aspect warrior on bikes. Can you guess what they are supposed to be?
Fast.
Yeah, they're your fast lance aspect. They're the go fast and charge into them.
Hit and run horse tactics, but on a bike.
I've got to say, as a whole, if you throw all the aspect warriors together, it's really fun to look at them all together and how absolutely clashing they all are in a fun way.
Yeah.
Of like, this army cannot be accused of having no variety in it. We haven't even gotten to Wraiths or how half the tanks look or anything like that. Like, in Eldar, a single army without branching into Harlequins or anything, you can have so many different looks.
Yeah, it is honestly pretty amazing. And like, I think we've got a couple more bikes that we'll talk about and like actually like dig into, but even just like from the paint schemes, they're like very obviously different. The silhouettes are different, but like there's still the whole like Lhyth elf vibe to it that like ties it all together as a like cohesive unit. They honestly did a really good job of showing off aspects being like they devoted lifetimes to this one path and they are masters of it.
Yep. So back off of that and into generalists, let's talk about your basic foot troop finally. We took a little bit of a weird winding path with Eldar, but it makes sense when trying to talk about all the characters and having to get into Phoenix Lords and the aspect warriors they lead, and
it just kind of works that way.
So for your general infantry in Eldar, your basic foot soldier.
Yeah, we've got the Guardians.
Yeah, you've got Guardian Defenders or Storm Guardians. It's the same kit. But yeah, this is your general foot troop, still very elite, but your least elite of a faction that is elite.
Yeah, these are like, I don't know if this is actually true, but it feels like one of those, they're still trying to figure out the path that they're gonna fully commit to. So they're just like, yeah, we're fighting. I've got a sword and a weapon and like we'll figure shit out.
Yeah, so Storm Guardians are your more melee-oriented version. Guardian Defenders is your ranged one, and that's your basic troops. You can pick to build whichever one in any amount.
And also come with the heavy weapon platform. We gotta bring that up.
We do, unfortunately. We'll get back to it later. It's my least favorite part of Eldar.
I don't hate it. It's just, it's a bit weird to be included with your basic troop. Like, it feels like, okay, you could have had those as a like heavy weapons team theme that you would see in, Astra Militarum.
I mean, or here with the D cannons, vibro cannons, and shadow weavers, like they come back.
Yeah, but whatever. All right, I'm not gonna take points away from being cool because it's there. Kind of thing. It is a little weird, but overall the default Guardians are solid. Like they're a good base start that you can see like, all right, this is, your general form, and then based on that there's a bunch of variations that we've kind of brought up with the aspects and adding the flare. But we've also got the Rangers, and this is one that I think you were like not sure about the aspect or like what's going on.
They are essentially the idea of not choosing an aspect.
Okay.
They are the idea of freedom, of not locking yourself to a specific path. So yeah, Rangers are the last of like the generic non-aspect troops that we'll talk about here. They're your sniper team, like your elite SEAL team here, but they're what you like lore wise, they're what you have if you go the no aspect warrior route and you try to like forge your own path.
Yeah, and like not the Dire Avengers, Asurmen general. Like, this is like you're not committed to that like path of war. You're still trying to just figure out the best for your own path kind of thing, and that's cool.
Yeah, if you like the Ranger vibe, we'll get down. There's more later when we get to mounted units. If you like this vibe and you want to go like heavy into like a scout feeling army, you might want to like look into theming your collection off of Autarch, which is one of the craft worlds that's like famous for Rangers and like not committing to a specific path and freedom and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely even just changing the paint scheme on a few of the other ones and like a little bit of kit bashing, maybe you can make a pretty cool Ranger focused collection. And like, I get it. It is cool. So that's kind of all there is for the general infantry because we went over so many from the aspects. But let's finally talk about Wraiths. And this is something that I really don't know anything about. Like, I know Wraithbone is like, that's their fancy way of like...
Wraithbone is a grown psychic material. It's what they make all their stuff out of.
A special soup kind of thing. Yeah, it's super cool and can do whatever you want it to do.
So, Wraiths are my favorite part of Eldar, also known as bowling pin heads.
Which... All right, let's start with that.
I will always argue that Wraiths are it goes so far past stupid that it comes all the way back to cool. I love the bowling pin head.
On the general troops, I don't particularly like it, but we'll get to like the Wraithlord and it's like, all right, I understand what you're saying. But it is definitely a very obvious first impressions look, is the bowling pin.
So the Wraithguard and Wraithblades are like the generic versions. Wraithguard are your shooty ones. Wraithblades are your melee ones. Yes, they have a dual disc on their arm. Get over it. It's okay to play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Even in 40K.
Even in 40K, you can be a weeb. So...
Honestly, if anybody's going to be a weeb, the Eldar would.
Yes.
There's probably an entire path for it.
The path of the VTuber.
Oh, God.
It represents Khaine as a online influencer.
An online influencer. Is this what we're calling gods now? You're a deity. No.
Often mistaken for deities.
No. You're an online influencer.
So anyway, as I alluded to earlier with the Spirit Seer, they take care of the Wraiths because one of the things you can do as an Eldar is when you die and you get put into your Spirit Stone, you can go put me in that tank body. So the Wraiths are Eldar who have died and have been uploaded into a Wraith body.
And they don't even need an entire sarcophagus for it.
Nope. Just a little jewel.
It's cool. And like, it really does make sense for Eldar of like...
Dying species has trouble reproducing and actually like having any form of population.
Yeah.
Like soon to be extinct, and it's like you've got to send your dead back to continue fighting.
Right. And like at the same time, like there's no rest for like the dead because there's always the threat of Slaanesh.
Yep.
So I get it. Absolutely.
I love Wraiths. They're cool lore-wise to me. They're cool looks-wise to me. They are the part of Eldar that I just mesh with. So Wraithguards and Wraithblades are obviously your foot troop equivalents. They're still very elite.
Oh, yeah.
They're quite big compared to Eldar.
Yeah, I think Wraithguards are like 40 millimeter bases.
Yeah, they're like Terminators.
Yeah, they're bigger than your normal troop, but they're also not like big.
Yeah, but then to get big, we've got a Wraithlord, which is a lot more like a Dreadnought in Space Marines. This is, again, same thing, but bigger. You've got like a whole tank cannon on your shoulder.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then we can go all the way up to Wraithknights, which is, you know, the beautiful one.
It's a knight.
Yeah, it's a knight. It's an Eldar knight. It's as tall as a knight. When you put it next to a knight, you're like, that's a cooler knight.
They're, I think, generally even more point cost than like the big knights.
Well, there was a reason for that at the beginning of 10th.
Yeah. But like it's just another one of those, like, the Wraith Knights are big, scary knights. It's not one of those like, oh, it's a cute Eldar. Nah, dude. Don't let that bowling pin deceive you.
Yeah, so if you, like me, are a fan of Wraiths, then clearly you go Wraith in your direction, get Wraith Blades and Wraith Guards as the same kit, build them both ways, grab a couple of Wraithlords, maybe spring for a couple of Wraith Knights, and get like a few Spirit Seers to keep everybody alive and to buff them up, and then like maybe look at accenting in, I don't know, like a Farseer or two.
I mean, you can even have a couple Guardians and just...
Yeah, you can always mix generalist stuff in, like to make something well-rounded and not like a one-note thing, but if you prefer a specific part...
The general Guardians work pretty well with the Wraith. The bowling pin heads aren't going to clash too much. It'll work out okay. It is really cool that there is this like unique section of Eldar range, and it's another unique section of the Eldar range. I'm not sure I'm fully for the bowling pin. And then I look at the Wraith Knight and I'm like, all right.
The Wraith Knight, yeah, goes less bowling pin. It like tries to mix the two looks.
I think the Wraithlord's the real one that I look at, and I get your feeling of it goes so far, it wraps back around into being cool.
So if you're into Wraith Knights and Wraithlords and stuff, and you want to go the Wraith way, you may want to look into like Eandon lore and see if you like all of that. Their paint scheme is also sick because it's yellow and blue. I also will pronounce it as Illidan half the time and have people make WoW references, but...
Yeah, that is actually kind of confusing.
Speaking of, purple and green could go pretty hard for Wraith, so maybe instead you really do want to go with Illidan.
All right, moving on from there, let's finally talk about bikes. We've seen a few of them with like the Skyrunner and the Shining Spears, but let's talk Windriders.
They're cool hover bikes, but I still argue Drukhari's are cooler. They're good though.
That's fair. I think it depends on like, they're both really cool.
When it comes to bikes, being edgy is a plus, and Drukhari being edgy gives them the edge. I walked into my own pun.
Yeah, you did. Congrats. It is really slick looking, right? Like,
yeah, especially in red, which again, the default Samhan paint scheme that Eldar have.
Red ones go faster.
Yeah, and it's the bike craft world. It's yeah, definitely still made by the old ones.
There is, that entire craft world that is based around bikes, which
is the default paint scheme. It's the red one. It goes faster.
The core rocket torpedo look to the, hover bike is really cool to me. It's just an aesthetic that I'm absolutely here for, especially on Eldar or, the elf, like, let's be sleek and fast and quick and all that stuff. It just works really well. And then they've got the, like, wing blades that pop out.
Dude, they're clearly stabilizers. You gotta have them. They're not just for style.
All right, that's true. You gotta have the control surfaces on those.
But if you want more bikes, you could go Shroud Runners.
Hell yeah, dude. Tandem.
And just relive episode 6. I had to remember which Star Wars that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. End of thought.
I'm gonna agree with that. I don't know for certain, so hopefully you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's 6. It's
okay.
The third of the original trilogy, and I don't remember the name of it anymore.
I was like, this is the kind of thing we don't want to get wrong on the internet, and I'm not certain, so I'll let you have it. Yeah, so the Skyrunners are, it's got the core bike look, and then because we wanted to have a sniper rifle on it, we just jumped on the back, which like totally not OSHA certified at all, but I guess like you're an elf and like this is your path of decades worth of training, so it could work.
So you can combine this with Rangers and you end up with a pretty sick looking like scout heavy type collection going. Now unfortunately, the one remaining really sad looking thing in Eldar is the Vyper, which is like their ATV equivalent. It's looking rough. I'm not going to lie. It's ancient, and I'm pretty sure it's at least partially fine cast, though I don't remember.
It looks like it's all sprue, but
it is the oldest sprue I can think of still.
It's the old, like, we didn't understand how to do any of this. There's massive gaps. There's way too many attachment points in certain areas.
Yeah, that's amazing.
This is rough.
So it's a little bit rough.
But I like the idea. Like, looking at it, it's like, yeah, it's old. But, like, fundamentally, I like it. If they did an update, it would go hard, especially for an ATV kind of thing.
Yeah, but if you were going for like a mounted heavy army, I would hold off on buying Vipers if you're new to collecting.
Honestly, there's probably some pretty cool 3D prints that like do this, but new and better kind of thing. I don't know. Not really there. We'll wait for the update. We've got some like tank kind of things though.
Yeah, so moving into the full tanks, this was like the surprise of the oldest model episode we did a while back with the Age of the Fire Prisms like core shell that all of the tanks are based off of. This is old, but it looks really good for its age. I've heard it's not the greatest to actually fit together though.
That is one of the downsides of a bunch of old models is like, even if they do hold up aesthetically, generally there were a lot of things that they didn't know about for assembly. But the Fire Prism,
I like the Fire Prism flat out because I like that it is a tank with a proper large gun.
yeah, that's fair.
Too many tanks in 40k have tiny little guns, and a tank should have a big fuck off cannon.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. From a cartoon idea, tanks have big fuck off cannons, and that's what I want, right? Like, that's the expectation. Fire Prism does a good job. I do actually really like the core chassis, the structure there that you were talking about.
Yeah, which I think it was originally the Falcon is like the very first one from what I remember us finding on that episode.
But it's like, this is a tank kind of thing, but it's not a human tank. It's so easy to be like
something looking too familiar.
Yes. When look at the rest of the army, a tank would not fit. It would be dumb. But the Fire Prism or, the Falcon, that fits well. Yeah, I'm absolutely here for it. And I guess, yeah, we'll just talk about the Falcon. Apparently, it's being reboxed with the Wave Serpent, because, like, that's basically just the turret on top that gets popped on and off.
Sure. And the Wave Serpent is the transport equivalent. The Falcon, Wave Serpent, the Fire Prism, these are all, like, the same core thing with a different top.
Yeah, honestly, there's not that much different. The Falcon has more of, like, an extended back for, transport type stuff, and still cool. I like it. I was a bit disappointed, like, when I saw it was, like, kind of new. I was like, ooh, like, it wasn't needed, but let's see what they got. And it was just, like, a rebox, and that's completely fair. Understandable. But, yeah, there's also the Night Spinner.
Yeah, the Night Spinner being the last of them. It's my least favorite of them, looks-wise.
I guess I'm with you. I like the Fire Prism more because it's, like, this is a proper tank. But I don't hate the Night Spinner, and I actually really like the color. Like, the Striking Scorpions did not do it for me. I actually really like the Night Spinner color.
That's because it's not like acid green, it's more of a forest green because it's Bealtan.
Yeah, and it kind of just works a lot better on this like vehicle kind of thing. I don't know, man. I'm here for it. I do like the Fire Prism more.
So that's the tanks, but technically there are more vehicles, but we're getting into the ones that are sketch.
Yeah, we brought it up earlier. Let's talk about the D-Cannon platform, the Vibro Cannon platform, the Shadow Weaver platform, all of the, like, they were included with the basic Troupe for some reason.
Yeah, they're dumb looking. This is their heavy weapon artillery unit thing that, like, can float around and fire.
The aesthetic of that with, like, the basic Troops one.
It's okay.
It's okay. I feel like it should be cooler than it is, which is disappointing.
I am not a fan of this part of the army. It's hard for me to sell it.
If you went hard on it, it could be kind of fun to, have the heavy weapons teams going on there. And, like, it's probably pretty fun to play. But, yeah, it's just the sleek look as the base to this, like, big gun. It's a little weird. It doesn't really do it for me, but that's fine. I do actually like the Warwalkers, though.
You're insane. The stupid chicken.
So, how you brought up it's so dumb with the bowling pin head thing that it, like, loops around again. Is this cool? Warwalkers do that for me.
This doesn't loop.
This loops for me. It's so ridiculous, and it's a meme tier nonsense.
It's got a windshield that doesn't protect the guy's head.
I mean, it protects it if I enjoy this model because it is so silly. Totally understandable that you don't. It looks like they are reboxing it as a pair though, so be careful. I think it's basically twice the price, so like you're not getting a discount or anything like that. But I think it's because they're gonna be taking it as like a 2-model group now, so like that you just box it as 2. But a little weird that they didn't change anything with it if they were doing a rebox on that. I don't know. Whatever.
Do you know what I do think looks cool that Eldar has though, Eric?
Are we just skipping these and going straight to Harlequins?
No, it's the planes. I really love the planes.
Ugh.
I love Aeldarplanes looks.
All right. Start selling me on it.
I like the very agile fighter jet look, the like all curves, no big stupid blocky box that shouldn't be able to fly like everything the Imperium has. This actually looks like something that could be used in combat and go above 3 miles an hour.
That is true. It has a like fighter plane look to it.
And this is the reverse where I think Drukhari has slightly cooler bikes than Craftworld Eldar do. I think our slightly too edgy planes are not as cool as Eldar's planes.
I actually don't really like your Drukhari planes at all.
They go a little too hard.
But just trying to remember. So like I know the Hemlock Wraith fighter is actually pretty big. Is the Crimson Hunter also?
They're both the same size. They're both big.
That's cool. So it's tough, especially in 10th edition. Be careful if you're going to be getting aircraft.
They're not great right now, guys.
Very possible that they'll be great in 11th because like the bounce back.
They have a long history of being broken every time they're not nerfed into oblivion.
Yeah. So, you know, just keep an eye on that. But I don't know. I kind of enjoy the I'm going to fly a brick just because I'm going to fly a brick and I don't care what physics says. But the Aeldari planes definitely have a cool, sleek aesthetic. And I can understand that, man.
All right. So Eldar is secretly 3 armies in a trench coat. And everything we just covered with all of that variety is only one of them.
But the other 2 are a lot smaller and like trying to be quietly tossed away. Let's start with Harlequins though, because I think they're like the more fleshed out, which is kind of sad. But where do we want to start with Harlequins?
Let's start with a Solitaire. It's their epic hero. It's not a named character, but it's unique. You're only allowed one. Solitaires, lore-wise, for anyone who actually cares about Harlequin lore, which I do because it's cool, Solitaires are the ones who play Slaanesh in the Great Play.
Ah, okay.
That's why it's like a special one-off role, and it's like a pariah role. Like once you're a Solitaire, no one really wants to hang out. And rules-wise, it works right because they tend to be the lone op equivalent type thing. They're your solo assassin.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that makes sense that this would be a pretty difficult role to play in the Grand Performance. I'm not sure why anybody would choose to do that, but I mean, anything for your artistic craft, right?
The Harlequins are, since they serve Chigorath and they're like all a little nutty.
Understatement, but yeah.
Anyway, so the Solitaire as a model is sick. I love the effect on the robe, and I've seen people do crazy stuff with this model, like hit bashing it and stuff.
So on that, do we want to talk about the checkerboarding?
The Harlequining?
Yeah. You don't have to do it.
You do not have to do it for Harlequins. There are Harlequin sub-factions that do not have Harlequining. It's just the one that's on the box.
It is eye-catching. It is unique, but like...
It will kill you as a new painter. Be careful.
Yeah, this effect on the cape for the Solitaire will still look very cool, even if it's not Harlequin.
Yeah.
There's still a lot that you can do with it. The model will still look very cool and unique.
The Shadowseer is the Harlequin space wizard. Shadowseers are what happens if a wizard snorts all the cocaine in the room, including the cocaine you didn't know you had on you.
Because they're the ones that, like, fuck with dreams, right?
Yeah, they are usually the cause of half of the plots in 40K.
Nice.
If someone important has to be given a vision, it's usually a Harlequin laughing and jumping around in their head. So yeah, Shadowseers are the movers and shakers of everything in 40K. Usually when something happens, it starts with a Shadowseer laughing in someone's dream, and then they're like, oh, now we have to blow up this planet. Or, those pesky Eldar want me to blow up this planet. I'll prove them wrong and I won't do it. And then they're like, good, we didn't want you to blow up that planet.
Right. Everything goes always according to plan. You just don't know what the plan actually is. It is actually kind of cool from like they're the only ones that know the script to the play.
Yes.
But the Shadowseer model.
It's one of my favorites. As long as you paint it chaotic colors, it works so well.
Yeah, just be careful about the staff. and don't turn it into candy cane. I say this because if I was painting this, I absolutely the first time would turn it into a candy cane and hate myself. So, thin coat of paint so you can go over it again. The model's ridiculously cool, though.
Then we've got the Death Jester, which is Mini Mugen Ra. It sure is a Death Jester who has the exact same drip and everything.
Yeah, dude. I'm here for it.
I love the look. It's the correct level of edge.
Yeah. Even has the right shoes for it, man. Like, I'm assuming the Death Jester is just like an assassin or something like that.
That is what it is. When the Harlequins see that someone important has to die.
Wouldn't it be funny?
Then we've got the last of the characters is the Troupe Master, which is the Harlequin equivalent of like a captain or whatever, your generalist. But the Troupe Master is just built out of the Troupe kit.
Which actually kind of annoying.
It is the 6th Troupe that can also be built as a normal Troupe. So it's a very basic model because of how it's built, but it's fine.
I mean, yes, it is a very basic model, but it's a very basic model for Harlequins. Like, there's still a bunch going on here, right?
Like, even without a paint job, Harlequin models stand out. They all have a bunch of, like, tassels coming off of them, very dynamic poses, barely touching any base, love falling over. Dear God, they love falling over.
Similar thing to, like, Jane Czar of the, like, this is extremely dynamic posing and, like, a lot of, like, stuff, like, flying in the wind, essentially. The fact that the Troupe Master is part of the Troupe box is kind of annoying, especially with current rules, because, like, you can run 5, 6.
It's kind of useful.
Or 11 and 12. Like, it's weird.
I have mixed thoughts on characters who are part of their box. There's pros and cons.
At the very worst, like, it is kind of cheaper than having to pay, another $35 for the separate character that could have been part of the box, but...
Yeah, and they would have just made it a 5-man then.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, you're kind of winning.
Yeah, kind of.
But yeah, then we've got troops as the basic troop.
Yeah, and the fact that the basic troop is this cool is why it's such a shame that the Harlequins are not pushed further.
Yeah, I still think this army just needs, like, 3 more models for variety, and it would be, and probably a change of what's on the cover for like paint job wise so that it stops scaring people off so much, but that's a different topic. But yeah, troops are amazing. They are, you look at them and find out if you want to play Harlequins. Like, that's the army.
Yeah.
But then we've got Skyweavers, which is their bikers, which are the best Eldar bikers. They beat Drukhari by a long shot. I love Skyweavers with the like tandem clowns on a bike.
Again, like, this is another tie-in to like the general bikes of Aeldari. The aesthetic is so cool, very sleek. The Skyweavers take that up to 11 though, with the person just standing on the back.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And then we've got the Eldar tank and dedicated transport all in one with the Void Weaver and the Star Weaver. The Void Weaver being a tank and the Star Weaver being a hilarious clown car. And the model that you are looking at on YouTube can carry 6 Harlequins in it who can all get out.
I was actually just looking that up again to see.
It's just a clown car.
Wild. But it thematically fits, so I'm okay with it.
And then we've got our final army here, and it's only going to take a moment to go through them. The final part of the Eldar is the Inari, the death cult of Eldar wanting to kill all Eldar in order to beat Slaanesh by being dead and bringing back your god of death.
Right. That makes sense.
It sort of kind of does.
Yeah, like the way that you brought that up, I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense anymore, because like previously I was like, oh yeah, it's like, let's starve Slaanesh essentially and like hide all of our souls away.
No, their plan is to make the Eldar god of death come back to life by killing all Eldar, and thus their god of death can kill Slaanesh.
But like they would they still have to have their souls not eaten by Slaanesh, because
correct.
Like, if they were eaten by Slaanesh, then there would be nobody left to believe in the god of death to do anything. Yes. All right, very, very complicated and convoluted.
So this is a massive army, a huge faction, very important in the lore. It contains Gilliman's girlfriend Yvraine and her dump truck ass and her pet cat.
I'm totally on board for this model. Very, very cool.
Eric confirmed also ass man. Oh, she's barefoot. That's why you like it.
I was like, yeah, man, take a look a little bit further down.
God damn it.
But no, realistically, the model is pretty cool.
It is. But then we've got our second model here, the Visarch, who is a random Dark Eldar guy, right?
Okay, so I was actually interested to hear about it because I know the Visarch, because the Ynnari is kind of neat to me. I was expecting a little bit more backstory on that.
I literally can't remember it, other than I know he is in the lore. He is written to be a hilarious foil to Yvraine at several occasions. Yvraine is also a Drukhari, not a Craftworld Eldar. She was a witch.
Yeah, she was like the greatest Coliseum fighter or whatever.
Yeah.
Or no, maybe not. I don't know.
One of them.
Something like that.
And then rounding up the massive range here is the Akarn, which is the like shard of the god of death possessing somebody.
This is an AOS model that's so fucking cool.
It's one of those, like with Jane Czar, the more of the model is not the actual model. Like it's the like warp thing in the hair, and it allows for a very cool, memorable silhouette.
Absolutely. And like the fact that like the rubble is being taken away with the flow of this warped stuff going on, and yeah, man, this is just a really cool model. It does feel kind of like really Slaanesh.
It does.
Right? Like I'm like, dude, this would be a cool one for Emperor's Children army that I'm putting together.
It really would, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
So, yeah, that's the entire Ynnari range and every bit of care GW put into them. But while we're here, there's also the Corsairs. They have a kill team that can alt build into two different things, and I didn't know where to put it, so it's here with Ynnari at the end.
So the Corsairs are just like guns for hire?
Yeah, Corsairs are unaffiliated Eldar. You can be a Drukhari, you can be a Craftworld Eldar. They're the I fucking hate everybody, I'm gonna go become a pirate and trade between two factions that hate each other but still hate Slaanesh more. So one day they'll be at a Craftworld, the next day they'll be at Kamra.
So like, actually kind of makes sense to put them with Ynnari.
That's why I put them here without the joke part, but with the joke part, it's the I didn't know where to put them.
Yeah. The models themselves.
I love Corsairs. They have a very Drukhari feel to them, and I like Drukhari for the most part. I really like how Corsairs look, but again, I'm more of a Drukhari fan than an Eldar fan.
I feel like these would also work pretty well with the Rangers.
You could definitely go that route and add them in there, and then maybe you end up with a Ynnari type collection and start collecting Drukhari in addition, because Ynnari does allow you to play Drukhari with Asuryani, which is Craftworld Eldar.
Right.
It's a way you could definitely go with your collection if you were wanting to go that route.
Yeah, dude, this has taken us a little bit of time. Not sure what it's going to cut down to, but
it's not as bad as Space Marines was. We actually covered every named character during this one. I didn't have to ban 50 models.
And I think a lot of it is like most of these models feel unique and useful as opposed to just being, it's a lieutenant butt. Oh, it's another lieutenant, but we're like, there's like things to talk about for these models.
They are characterful.
Yeah.
I can explain to you the very easy difference. Like, you don't need someone to explain the difference to most things other than Farseers and Warlocks because they're the same damn thing.
Yeah, totally makes sense. It's like the in training Farseer is a Warlock. All right, makes sense. I get it. The range itself, from a stepping back kind of viewpoint, shockingly unique, especially with a bunch of the new aspects. It's pretty easy to just be like, oh yeah, they're space elves, but it's pretty unique, and I'm a fan of it. Looking over these, I'm growing to like Aeldari more.
All right, well that does it for a pretty long walk through a faction. I think this one deserved the breakdown though. It's great because they just got a huge refresh, and they're a large range that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in, but have hesitation jumping into from zero info.
Yeah.
Hopefully you got something out of this. At the very least, some entertainment.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and anything that we got wrong lore-wise, comment.
Oh yeah, everyone comment Autarch or Autarch for how it should be pronounced. Make sure to comment 5 times each to make sure I get it.
And literally just AUTARCH.
Yeah. No matter which way. Yeah. That works perfect. Read no other comments that someone else has already done the correction for you. Just pile on. And tell me about how it's related to the Sturm Tiger, because I know someone already typed a Sturm Tiger joke before hearing me call out that you were going to do that.
There's no way somebody didn't.
All right, but that does it for us this week. We're out of here.
Sounds good.